speech 4 years ago, a much different tone. Paul Begala, you were remarking on that, and also you were remarking on just what an extraordinary win this is for the president.
It really is, and it looks like I think the president has told friends that he thinks the economy really is going to take off the next 4 years, and this was much more optimistic, exuberant, energetic. This was more like the Barack Obama we were introduced to at that Boston convention in '04 than the very somber young president-elect we were first introduced to in Grant Park. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. But it's hard for me actually to put it into context. No one has, in the modern era, has ever been reelected with an economy this soft, or even close to this soft. It's really remarkable. He held off any primary challenge from his own party, job one for an incumbent president, and then he made the case in the most difficult environment you can imagine. I mean, the guy, I know Barack means blessed, and maybe he is, but his first weeks in office, there was an economic collapse. His last weeks before the election, there was a hurricane, and in between, he didn't have very many easy days.
By the way, the hurricane was a blessing.
The way he handled it was, had he handled it, frankly, the way President Bush handled Katrina, he'd be ex-President Obama tonight. So he had to rise to the occasion, and he had to have a team in place that could do it. And I think both in his campaign and certainly in FEMA, he seems to have had that team. But the campaign staff, having been an old staffer, the real hacks, we understand this is an even bigger, more difficult, and more impressive win than 2008.
Really?
Yes.
Just because of so many odds stacked against
so many, the economy was so bad.
Final 6 months of 2008, we lost 3.47 million jobs. Final month before this election, we gained 171,000 jobs. He purposely was somber in 2008 because he said he could not walk out there and give this exuberant speech knowing full well the economic condition that we were in. He even signaled that to the First Lady. She walked over and she wanted to give him a high five. He said, no, not tonight. From that moment, that's why he walked out there and he said, remember, he said, we have to rebuild this country brick by brick, house by house, street by street. And so he understood the grind. The last 4 years, it was a grind. And so what you saw tonight was them putting that coalition back together. You saw them expanding out west, winning those critical states. Folks said, okay, Nevada, New Mexico, you throw in Colorado. I mean, so you're talking about a different sort of focus this time around.
David?
Listen, I think that Paul and Roland and other Democrats, especially the president and his team, deserve a night of big celebration. This was a big victory. For an African-American, for a black to win 2 straight elections in this country is a significant accomplishment in political history, and I don't take anything away from that. I do think it's possible to overinterpret just how big the win is. I mean, it is worth remembering that when he beat John McCain, he beat him by 10 million votes. And tonight he's winning currently by about 1 million votes. I think it'll get higher. But it's not, I don't think it was as overwhelming a victory as what he got last time when he broke through. Right. What I also found interesting about the speech, and I think that gave him some, it was a little tempered tonight about where he was going. It was much more a speech about values. Paul was absolutely right. This speech echoed 2004, the convention speech. It sounded like, a redux, right? But what I thought he carefully steered away from was something he had been arguing earlier, and that was that this election was going to clear the air. This election would resolve what path we were going to take. And instead, he came out and talked about tonight that the arguments go on. People are going to, the passions continue. And we need to see if we can figure out how to get there.
But David, size doesn't always matter.
He didn't seize and say, I've been elected, now I've got an agenda, this is what the country
Well, I'd just like to make an observation about one throwaway line in the speech where he said, and all the people who waited online for 3 and 4 hours to vote, and we've got to fix that. Yeah. You're damn right we do. Yeah. What a disgrace. What a disgrace in this country that you have to wait online for 3 or 4 hours in order simply to vote.
Paul, you were making the case that you've worked on elections in Brazil, which is obviously a very modern country, has a lot going for it, but they're...
Much better system of voting, much better. They're electronic, it's instantaneous, and it is verifiable, so there are careful checks against corruption. A lot of people in America...
It's on a Sunday, and it's mandatory.
Right.
And I just got to quickly check in with Candy Crowley and just yell. Candy, you first, from your perspective tonight.
Well, I actually was thinking about that 2004 speech that he made when he gave this speech. I also, talking back and forth, a colleague said, the thing is you want to say, okay, what's the plan? And I think we still don't know what the plan is. And what we do know is that we've had the president tonight saying, I'm going to reach out to Republicans and Democrats. We had the speaker, who may or may not even expand his majority in the House, say, I'm willing to work with the president. But then both men have said, Speaker Boehner said in his statement tonight, this should not be seen as some mandate to raise taxes. And we know also that the president has said that he'd veto any bill that didn't end the tax cuts for the wealthy. So I'm not sure where we are. I don't know what the plan is. Tonight's not the night for it, but it's going to come pretty quickly, Anderson.
And Jessica, let's check in with you, the campaign.
Well, Anderson, you know, I think one of the things we're overlooking is that the president is very clear about when he says something, he actually does do it. And what he has said during this campaign, or he tries to do it, is that he believes his mistake in the first term was trying to reach out to Congress without reaching out to the American people more. And what he said in that speech was, I return more determined and more inspired than ever. What we saw during this campaign was the president, who became increasingly cold and detached in office, became energized and alive on the campaign trail, as if it breathed new life into him being on the campaign trail. And what his advisors tell me over and over is that when he gets back into office, if they thought he would be reelected, when he gets back into office, instead of working just with Congress, he will take the show on the road. I know people say it can't be done, whatever. They think it can be done, and that he will continue to make the case to the American people. He thinks that's the answer, and that will energize Congress to move, and that he did lay out a second-term agenda, they think, pretty clearly.
Okay.
You can disagree, but
we want to talk about that with our panelists ahead, exactly what that means, taking the show on the road, but I want to go to Wolf and John first, because a lot more numbers to look at on the map.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we take a closer look right now, John King, at the pathway to victory. How did the president of the United States, he's up now by more than 1 million votes on the popular vote, but on the Electoral College vote, the all-important reach for 270, he got it. He went beyond it. How did he do it?
And they will be critically happy in the Obama campaign if they can get above 50, Wolf, and keep that above 50. A much narrower victory than last time when he had 53% of the vote. If he can crack 50, this will make them happy as they go back to the White House. You're a sports fan, as I'm a sports fan. A winning team in sports, what does it do most of all? It defends its house. It defends its turf. You have to win at home. So this is the Obama map of 2008. When you come to the Obama map of 2012, remarkably successful. In a much tougher year for Democrats, they lost only Indiana and North Carolina, the two most Republican states. Of all the states President Obama won as Senator Obama 4 years ago, the only ones he lost tonight.
Remember, North Carolina 4 years ago, they only won by 14,000 votes.
These are the two states from 2008 that had the deepest Republican DNA of the two states he lost tonight. You have to say it is a remarkable achievement, given the economy, given persistent high unemployment, that the president defended this map. And it is a remarkable achievement. Now,
I want to just point out to our viewers, Florida is the only state we have not projected a win yet, or a loss. We haven't made any projections of Florida. It's very close. 97% of the vote has been counted. The president has 50%. Mitt Romney has 49%. There's a difference, though. Not much there in Florida. But I think for the reason we have not made a projection is that they've decided to stop counting votes, at least for the night. They're going to resume tomorrow morning, and then we'll wait and see for the official number. But we have not made a formal projection in Florida.
We have not. About 65,000 votes there in my rough math. I've gone through this looking at the county. If you're looking for the conservative votes in these red counties, you're not going to find them. The question is, what else is there? They have other votes to count down, and here are a few votes here, and perhaps they know something in Florida.
Maybe absentee ballots or whatever.
Absentee ballots and the like. So we'll wait and let this one play out. At the moment, though, Florida is blue, and you're right. If this one happened to go red late, that would be a third one. But at the moment, he's only lost two, which is pretty remarkable when you look at this. And so then you come to this map here. The president successfully defended the map. He is on the path now. He has 303. If he gets the state of Florida, he'll crack. That would put him over 330. He won 365 electoral votes last time against John McCain. Again, in defending his map, it's a very impressive electoral college victory, a more narrow victory when it comes down to the national election. But from an electoral college perspective, you have to tip your hat. This is exactly what they said they were going to do: defend their turf, keep their coalition intact, turn out their vote. They did it.
A lot of Republicans were bad-mouthing the pollsters, but you know what? Those pollsters in most of those battleground states proved to be pretty accurate.
Very accurate. If you go state by state and look at the late polls, dead on.
Yep, pretty good. All right, we're taking a closer look at the president's path to re-election. How did he get to some key voting groups, and what does it all mean for his second term? Much more coming up right here at the CNN Election Center.